Earlier this week, the University of California, Berkeley was forced to cancel an appearance by right-wing Breitbart hate-monger Milo Yiannopoulos. Apologies if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Honest to God, I don't care. But anyway, Milo went there to give a speech sponsored by the college Republicans at UC Berkeley. Unfortunately, after thousands of people showed up to protest Milo's involvement, the speech had to be canceled. He was escorted off property. Police officers had to come out and announce that the event was canceled. In short, the students at UC Berkeley did not want a Breitbart spokesperson, somebody who has ties to white nationalists, somebody who defends white nationalists, and somebody who's actually been banned from Twitter for their erratic and irresponsible and dangerous behavior. They didn't want that person speaking at their campus to the minds of all of these young students. So they stood up, exercised their First Amendment freedoms, and got him kicked off the campus. In response, Donald Trump tweets out the following morning that maybe he should pull federal funding from UC Berkeley if they're not going to allow differing opinions, if they're going to trample on the First Amendment. Now, here's what Donald Trump, who is not a constitutional scholar, he is not a constitutional lawyer, probably a guy that can't even spell Constitution, here's what he doesn't understand about the First Amendment. The protesters, the people who got this speech canceled, that was the First Amendment in action. As far as Milo's speech being canceled, that really was just a business decision. The Republicans, the college Republicans there are the ones who paid for this. It turns out that because of all the protesters, they realized probably not going to make their money back. Because Milo was maybe scared, he went along with it. The college has full discretion over what gets canceled, what goes on. Happens all the time. Colleges book comedians. Sometimes a comedian will say something that's less than savory, they get canceled. Bill Maher got canceled for his statements on Islam. Where were you there, Donald Trump? Probably right there with him. But you see, just because you have a hateful belief or horrible things to say doesn't mean that you get to say it. That's not what freedom of speech is all about, Donald Trump. Hate speech is not okay. And if a federally funded institution in the United States says we're not going to give a platform to somebody to spew their hate speech, you can't fight that. It incites violence. It incites hatred. There is a very, very strong precedent for getting rid of this kind of speech in the United States. It is not further discussion. It does not further knowledge. It does nothing but incite hatred and violence, and therefore is not protected speech. And that's something that you need to understand, Donald Trump, if you're going to be a defender of the Constitution. And instead, you decide to go on Twitter and threaten this university that's been around a hell of a lot longer than you. It's going to be around a hell of a lot longer than you will be. And you threaten to pull their federal funding just because the students at that university had the courage to stand up to this hate peddler from Breitbart and say, not today. That is what America is all about.